Yeah. So anyway, we are holding on the bottom of Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis.
What Masechta?
Barry, first of all, put the Gemara the right side,
Yeah,
and
I knew something was wrong.
Yeah, and we're learning Bavli. Put away the Yerushalmi. We're holding on the bottom line of Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis, sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin for his children Eli, Orit, and Ora, and for my Refuah Shalema, Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel. We're sponsored by Eddie Chazan, Refuah Shalema for Yedidya ben Pnina, Shoshana Bas Pnina, and Simone Bas Rachel should have Refuah Shalema for Shachal Yisrael, and also co-sponsored anonymously Lila Nishmas David ben Chaim, Refuah Shalema for Eliyam Moshe ben Chayesar, Yaakov ben Bas Yeleah, and for the schus of Avram and Yom Benish ben Malki Yehudis and family. We are holding, as I said, on the bottom line of Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis here in the shul. We have Berish Gesman and Ruvain Shanit. Rava bar Ada Amar Reb Yitzchak. Rava bar Ada said in the name of Reb Yitzchak, Bikurim me'amasai mechayvin aleihen. Now, here we're talking about the Chiyuv Misa B'dei Shemayim, for a zor to eat the bikurim. So at what point is there Misa B'dei Shemayim, death at the hands of heaven, for a zor to eat the first fruits? So says the Gemara, Misha Yiro Pnei Abayis. As soon as it comes into the Azara, as soon as it comes into the temple courtyard, that's when there's Misa. So the Gemara says, come on, who is this going like? Kihai Tana, like the following Tana, the Tanya Rabbi Eliezer Aimer, Bikurim, first fruits, Miksasan Bechutz or Miksasan Bifnim, some of them on the outside and some of them are on the inside. Shebechutz, those that are on the outside, Harihein Kechulin L'chol Devreim, they're like Chulin for everything. Shebifnim, those that are on the inside, within the Azara, Harihein Kehegdish L'chol Devreim. Now, again, we're revisiting the subject of whether the formula invalidates, that the kohen should not be able to eat it yet. Placing it in front of the Mizbeach is indispensable. Kriya, the formula, ein ma'akeves bahem. Come on. Who is this going like? Kiyai Tana, like the following Tana. The Tanya, for we learned in the Braise, the Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Yomer, Shloisha Dvarim, Mishum Shloisha Zakain. Rabbi Yossi says three things in the name of three elders. The first is in the name of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael Yomer, Yochel Yala Odom Meiser Sheni Bizman Hazeh Yerushalayim. I might think that you could bring Meiser Sheni nowadays to Yerushalayim, v'yoichlenu. Now the idea is if you say Kedusha Rishayna Kitchel Shata v'Kitchel Asid Lavai, that the Kedusha of Yerushalayim is still there, I might think that you could bring Meiser Sheni, the second tithe, and eat it in Yerushalayim nowadays. Now, the fact of the matter is what we do is we redeem it on a little bit of money, and we dispose of that money. But we can't eat it. But we would think, V'dinu, Bechar Torn Havas Makim, Bechar has to be brought up to the Beis HaMikdash. Ma'aser Sheni Torn Havas Makim. Ma'aser Sheni has to be brought to Yerushalayim and to the Mizbeach. Ma Bechar Eina Ela B'fnei Abayis, Bechar could only be done when we have a temple. Af Ma'aser Eina Ela B'fnei Abayis. So the Gemara says, yeah, but you can't make a comparison from Bechor to Ma'aser Sheni. Ma'ala Bechor shekein ton matan domim ve'imur legabi mizbeach. Bechor is different because you have to do the zrika and put the sacrificial portions on the mizbeach. So the Gemara says, Bikurim yoichichu. Bikurim will disprove you that Bikurim doesn't need sacrificial fats on the altar. It doesn't need sprinkling, and it is only in the time that the Beis HaMikdash is Kayim. Now that means that if you separated Bikurim, and then the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, you can't eat it. So the Gemara says, yeah, but Bikurim is different because that needs Hanocha before the Mizbeach. Right? It says, you have to put it before the Mizbeach. So you can't learn it out from it to Maisa, which doesn't need Hanocha before the Mizbeach. Talmud Leimer, V'avchalta sham lifnei Hashem alikecha. You eat it there before Hashem. Makish Maisa lebechar. In that pasuk where it says V'achalta sham lifnei Hashem alikecha, it says both Meiser and also Bechar. So Makish Meiser Bechar, Ma Bechar ain't ela lefnei habayis. It only is when the Beis Hamikdash is Kayim. Af Meiser ain't ela b'fnei habayis. Now, when it asks the Pircha that you can't learn out Meiser from Bikurim, it just says that it needs the Hanacha. It doesn't say anything about Kriya. V'im isa lifrach mala Bikurim shekain tunin Kriya v'Hanacha. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Ashi, says Rav Ashi, Nehedi Kuvaleka, even if you're right, that it doesn't invalidate mitzvah mileka, so therefore let it say, Malabikum, that it has a din of Hanacha and also a mitzvah of Kriya. V'leima mitzvah v'lifroich, and include the fact that it has a mitzvah of Kriya. Amar Rav Ashi, there is a person that doesn't have a mitzvah of Kriya. And that is if a ger brings a Bikurim. If a ger brings Bikurim, since it says in the formula of Bikurim, Asher nishba lavo isecha, and a ger can't say lavo isecha, because they weren't his ancestors, so keva the ika Bikure ager. That Hashem swore to our forefathers to give the land, and it's not true by a ger because it wasn't his forefathers. Therefore, that's why it doesn't say kriya like psikale. It's not definitive. Says the Gemara, but still, why do I need the hekish of the pasuk? Let's learn it out, Meiser, from a mahatzad together from Bikurim and Bechar. And say like this, Ma Bechar, that it's done Matan Bikurim and Ve'imurim on the Mizbeach, Bikurim Teichiach. Mala Bikurim Shekein Tzrichen Hanocha B'Kriya, Bechar Teichiach. Let's learn it out from the two of them. Says the Gemara, Mishim de'ika l'mifrach, because we could refute it, Mala Atzara Shabba Shebem, the common denominator of Bechar and Bikurim, Sheken Yesh Bem Tzad Mizbeach. Now, the Gemara says, I don't understand. If we say that the initial Kedusha that was in the side of the Beis Hamikdash is Kaddish from its time, and it's also Kaddish in the future. In other words, the holiness of the temple, the holiness of Yerushalayim is not Paka. So then, Afilu B'char Nami, we should be able to go to the Makam of the Mizbeach and slaughter slaughter the B'char and eat it. And Ichasab Kedusha Rishana Kitchel Shata V'loy Kitchel Asid Lavai. So then Afilu B'char Nami Tibai. Then we should ask. Then we should ask also, what's the din? What's the din where the Bechar, its blood was sprinkled while the Beis Hamikdash was Kayim, and the Beis Hamikdash was then destroyed? Could you eat the meat? So the Gemara says, Amar Avina, you're right. That the Beis Hamikdash was holy only for its time and not for the future. As we explained, a Bechar whose blood is sprinkled before the destruction of the temple, Bechar of Abayis, V'adayim B'Sarai Kayim, But we know that the pasuk juxtaposes umakshinon b'sarai ledamai. We juxtapose the flesh of the bechar to the blood of the bechar. Ma damai, it could only be eaten if there's a mizbeach, b'mizbeach, af b'sarai b'mizbeach. So the Gemara says, so then why do I need an extra pasuk for meiser? Or makish meiser, says the Gemara, no, and says the Gemara, this is not a kasha. And says the Gemara, or makish meiser lebechar. And then we juxtapose meiser to bechar, like we said in the pasuk, so that the meiser nowadays also, you cannot eat in Yerushalayim. Says the Gemara, but wait a second. V'chi davar alamed behekesh chazer malamed behekesh? Something that we originally learned out from a hekesh, that we learned the basar of bechar from the dam of bechar, can we then convey it over with a second hekesh to learn from bechar to meiser? Says the Gemara, you know where we don't say that you can't learn out a hekesh from a hekesh? That's only by kachin. But here we're learning about meiser sheni. Meiser sheni is not kachin. Meiser dogin chulanu. Remember, meiser sheni is permitted to a non-kayin. So that's good, says the Gemara, as we turn to Daf Yud Tes Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, Mark, am I going too fast for you? No? No? Okay. Shalom doesn't look like he's complaining either. Shalom, we might go straight through till 10 o'clock. To finish the Masechta. Says the Gemara, my brother-in-law, Tzvi Danziger, told me that he started the system. They have an interesting system of Chazara, that on the first day you learn Daf Beis, then the second day when you learn Daf Gimel, you learn Beis and Gimel, and then when he learns Daf Daled, he did Beis, Gimel, and Daled, and then when he did Hey, he did Beis, Gimel, Daled, and Hey, and it's a small Masechta, he's trying to do the whole Masechta that way, but you have to have time for that. But anyway, look at that background that Yisrael Fisher has. That's a nice background. That's a nice background. That's because he's in Brooklyn.
It's after 7 times on the thing. He keeps Chazara like that. He's finishing Masechta 24 times.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
All right. A lot of siyum, and that's all I can say.
That's correct. Anyway, I have to tell you that we're missing a lot of people at this time. Missing a lot of people.
Not easy.
It hurts me. It hurts me. I do this with tremendous difficulty. It's we only have 20 Zoomers. Let's welcome them. We welcome in Barry Cement, Baruch Ian, Eddie Chazan, Mo Kushner, Saba, Irving Fishbaum, Dov Solkowitz, Yaakov Warman, Shelley Zeitlin, Yisrael Fisher, Nachman Chapler, Reb Kaniel, Dr. Block, Shalom Fogel, Rabbi Kranz, Mark Frankel, Yitzi Muller, Avram Rezepkowitz, Abe Arbach. Thank you all for adjusting yourself to come. David Helfgott and Kol Lashin, Berish and Ruvain. So anyway, says the Gemara, Hanich Laman di Yom HaBasar Lamad Azlinon, that we go according to that which we're deriving. We're deriving Meiser, and Meiser is not Kachim, so then we could learn a Hekesh from a Hekesh. Elamandi Yom HaBasar Malamed Azlinon, and we're learning it out from Bechor, which is Kachim, and by Kachim we don't do a Hekesh from a Hekesh, then Mai Ikalameima. Says, this is not really considered a hekesh from a hekesh, because the first isn't really a hekesh, because damu basar chada milsi, since the blood and the meat is all from the same carbon, it's considered like one thing, and it's not considered a real step of a hekesh. Says the Mishnah, kachim, if you eat it outside of the kloim, outside of the azara, or kachim kalim or ma'aser sheni outside of the old city, you get malchus. Says the Gemara, but that we already covered. Tanina chadazimna, we already covered that. Ma'aser sheni v'hektish shaloi niptu. If you eat ma'aser sheni and hektish that's not redeemed, obviously when we say you eat it when it's not redeemed, we're talking about when you eat it outside of where you're allowed to eat it. So it already says ma'aser sheni outside of the old city. Why does it have to say it again? Amar Reb Yosi bar Chanina seifa b'maiser sheni tahor v'gavra tahor. One is talking about eating maiser sheni that's tar, and the mensch is also tar, right? Yisrael Fisher, he's tar, and he eats maiser sheni that's tar. But if he eats it
after the daf, I want to walk through with you to see what it is.
okay, but do that by muting yourself. He wants to see the walls of Yerushalayim. Okay, so anyway, so says the Gemara, the second case is talking about where Yisrael is tar and the Ma'aser Sheni is tar. If he eats it still outside of the walled city, he gets malchus. The ka'achal chutz l'chaim. Reisha b'Ma'aser Sheni tamei v'gavra tamei, where either the Ma'aser Sheni is tamei or Yisrael is tamei, even if he eats it within the walls. With ka'achal Yerushalayim. Says the Gemara, how do we know that if you eat Ma'aser Sheni when you're tamei, or when it's tamei, there's malchus? Says the Gemara, the Tanya Reb Shimon, I didn't consume in the vidui meiser. It says I didn't consume it betuma, and that's regardless whether he's tamei and the meiser is tar, or whether he's tar and the meiser is tamei. Ben shani tamei vutar, ben shani tar vutamei. Okay, but vehechon muzar alachila. Where is the warning that you get malchus? Where is the warning not to eat it? That ain't your idea. That I don't know. So the Gemara says, what do you mean you don't know? Tubas hagof behed yiksiv. Where Yisrael Fisher is tamei, that it says outright. Nefesh asher tigabay, if a soul that comes in contact with, let's say, a sheretz, the tama ada orev, and he becomes tamei until the evening, and this means that even if he goes, he's not allowed to eat kachim. And the Gemara tells us in Yemamis that this refers to meiser. So here you have a pasuk that if the mensch is tamei, you're not allowed to eat meiser sheni. Ela tumas atzmon minayin. How do we know where the meiser sheni is tamei? He's not allowed to eat it. Talmud Loimar loisucha lechol b'sharecha. You can't eat it in your gates. Ulahalon oimer, and by a bechar that was disqualified, it says b'sharecha toichlenu atamei vatar. The din is that a bechar that's disqualified, a person that's tamei and a person that's tar could eat it together. And it makes no difference that it becomes tamei. The tar could still eat it. The Tanya Rebbe Shmuel afilu tamei v'tar oichin b'kara achas ve'ein chayshishin. Even a tamei and a tar are eating it from the same plate, and the bechar that's disqualified becomes tamei. It's not a problem. Now it's not a problem by bechar, but there it says b'sharecha, which means that the item is tamei. And by Ma'aser Sheni it says lo yisucha lechol b'sharecha. That where Ma'aser Sheni is tamei, you're not allowed to eat it. V'kam rachmana heich tamei d'shroi lach gabei tar. That tamei by bechar that was disqualified, that we permitted tar to eat. Hasam over there. Hacha, it says that which we said b'sharecha teichlenu. Here lo yisucha lechol b'sharecha. Hacha lo yiseichel. So you see that Ma'aser Sheni that's tamei you cannot eat. Says the Gemara, how do we know? You're telling me that if it's not redeemed, how do we know that Ma'aser Sheni that's tamei you could redeem even if it's in Yerushalayim? Normally you can't redeem Ma'aser Sheni once it comes into Yerushalayim. How do we know Ma'aser Sheni becomes tamei that you could redeem it even in Yerushalayim? Talmud Loimar ki lo yisuchal se'esai. You're not allowed to carry it. Now, you're not able to carry it. But the word se'esai also means to eat it. And we darshin kiloi suchal se'esai, you're allowed to redeem it because you're not allowed to eat it. Ve'ein se'es ela achila, shenem avayisa masas me'es panav. and they gave portions from before his presence. So you see that if lo yisuchal seis, if you're not able to eat it because it's tamei, you're allowed to redeem it. Amar Rabbi Voy, Amar Rav Asi. Minayin l'maiser sheni tahor shepoidin oisay afilu b'psia achas chutz l'chayma. How do you know that maiser sheni that's tahor, as even if you're one step outside of Yerushalayim, you're still able to redeem it? Shenabar ki lo yisuchal seisai, because you're unable to carry it. So even if you have to carry it one step, you're still able to redeem it. Says the Gemara, but we needed it to say that if it's not able to be eaten, you're allowed to redeem it. That's what the word seisai means. Well, you're not able to eat it. It means that if you're not able to carry it, even if it's one step, you're allowed to redeem it. Says the Gemara, maybe it's just coming to tell us that latter lesson, and not that if you're not able to eat it because it's tummy, you're allowed to redeem it. You can't take it. So it uses a word that's both carry and eat, to teach us both lessons. Says the Gemara, Yosef Rav Chanina Rav Oishia. Rav Chanina Rav Oishia was sitting, and they inquired, what about if Eddie is standing right by the door of Yerushalayim and he wants to redeem it? So the Gemara says, if Eddie is on the outside, but the Ma'aser Sheni is already on the inside. Once the Ma'aser Sheni is on the inside, the mechitzas are kailated and it can't be redeemed. There, kilatu mechitzas, the walls have grabbed it and you can't redeem it anymore. The question is, who b'fnim u'masau b'chutzmal? What if he's in the inside, but the Ma'aser Sheni, the load of Ma'aser Sheni is still on the outside. It's on his back, and it's still on the outside. Could he redeem it? So Gemara says an interesting drasha. A certain elderly scholar of the Academy of Reb Shimon ben Yochai, it says, Ki yirchak mimcha hamakam. Now the word mimcha is extra. It could have said, Ki yirchak hamakam. When it says mimcha, we darshan mimulacha. Only if your fullness is outside. But if Eddie is partially inside, he can't redeem it anymore. Let's say Eddie has a stick on his shoulder, and he's inside, but on that stick, there's a load outside. Is that considered part of him, or is it independent because it's on a stick? Says the Gemara, Teiku. We're going to have to leave that one for Mashiach. Only Eddie could come up with such a concocted case. Now, Amar Abasi, Amar Reb Yochanan. Ma'aser Sheni me'amasai chayav olav. Ma'aser Sheni, this is very interesting. If you eat Ma'aser Sheni outside of Yerushalayim, when are you chayav? So I would say once you separate it, if you're outside of Yerushalayim, you're chayav. However, the Gemara says a very big chiddush over here. The Gemara says the only time you're chayiv is if you brought it in and then you took it out. You brought it in Yerushalayim and then you took it out, you're chayiv for eating it outside of Yerushalayim. If you eat it outside Yerushalayim before you bring it in, you're not chayiv. Why? Because we dash in the pasuk. Let's see it inside. Amar Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ma'aser Sheni me'amasai chayav olav, mishera pnei achayim. When it came in, and then you took it out. But if you just ate it outside before you brought it in, you're not chayav. That sounds strange. My timer. What's the reason? Once it's brought before Hashem, you should eat it. And then, then you can't eat it in your gates. Once you already brought it in, you didn't bring it in yet, even though you eat it outside of the Yerushalayim, like Karina Be Lo Yisucha Lecha B'Sharecha. Now the Gemara is not going to take this sitting down. And the Gemara is going to have a question on this, but that we're going to have tomorrow night at 8:50. What time? 8:25. 8:25 tomorrow will be the regular Zman, so that we could count Svir before the Shir, and now we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis.
Rabbi Weiss, why do we take Maisa in Eretz Yisrael on, let's say, an orange? Why is there a chiyuv of Maisa?
The chiyuv is only midrabanan, because it's not the gun chosirayishcha v'yitzarecha, but we according to the tzad, that there is still kedusha in the land for trumas and maisis, we separate it, and then we redeem it, and then we dispose of the money, and we redeem it with even a small amount.